Welcome back to the Daily Dean. So, to what degree are we really free? Bars. This is kind of my impromptu video essay on free will. Basically, I'll be sharing with you some of the fodder that I've had time to think about, and maybe you can add some of your own input to that as well, or maybe think about it yourself. So, when we think about decisions, or when I personally thought about decisions in the past, I always came to the conclusion that the choices you made today were built off the choices you made yesterday, and those choices were made off the days before that, so on and so forth. Because you can't be in the position you are right now unless you made the choices leading up to it, right? Just imagine if you are in position number 2 in terms of like everything you ever are. You had to add 1 and 1 in order to get there. If you added 1 and 0, it would not be the same decisions that led up to being 2, who you are. If that kind of makes sense. Basically, if every decision you make is a branch, are they not like, decisions that eventually just end up being you at the position you are right now in the present? If that makes sense. Again, I think I just said that twice. But regardless, that was my trouble with thinking about, are decisions really my own if every decision I've ever made only leads up to the decision I'm making right now? How can I be free if I'm a prisoner of the things I've done in the past? And, hey, whoa, that's a little crazy, Dean. Well, I mean, it kind of is bizarre to think about, but I've come to a different conclusion. Some decisions you can totally neglect, right? Decisions like, whether I'll eat for breakfast. That's not a decision that'll impact the day after, unless you're allergic to the breakfast cereal you eat. But basically, there are some decisions that aren't nearly as large that impact you in the present right now. But that does not mean that decisions in the past don't regulate or don't affect the decisions you're making right now. But it just leads into the past problem. If a big decision you've made in the past can't be changed, are you just a prisoner to that decision and aren't really free? If we could travel freely throughout the past and the future to see what happens, only then would we truly be free, right? You would have all the knowledge needed to make choices right now in order to have the full encompassing idea of freedom. Because because freedom, as I'm conveying my own interpretation of it to you, is just an interpretation. It's not really something that we can all agree on. Maybe your interpretation of freedom is just doing the best that you can right now, which I think sounds a little bit more healthy than the previous conclusion. But besides that, conclusions are just that. They're just interpretations and random stuff that this is now related to that, built off things that you've learned and have been taught in the past. Because a lot of things that you are speaking or believing right now are just things that you've heard from other people because you didn't think of it yourself. Right now I'm speaking from my own heart, or maybe I'm not really speaking from my own heart because the things that I'm sharing are just opinions that I've gathered from the past. Once again, it's just the same trap. The same idea that, everything about my personality is just built off the things that I've talked about or learned in the past. Basically, think about if you believe in, socialism or in capitalism and other stuff, you didn't come to that conclusion yourself because you didn't necessarily create capitalism, right? How can you agree with something that you didn't create? Well, that's easy. It's just because you find it agreeable with. But if you base your decisions off that opinion, is it really your opinion? So, I think I'm just asking more questions than I'm really answering. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about how much we are prisoners to our disposition, right? Everything that I've talked about is just saying are we really free? But I want to end this on a lighter note. We feel like sometimes we're prisoners and we're linked to our parents or what they are or what they've done or what our genetics tell us or what we've grown up with. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. Your parents or your family members or your whatever, your genetics may say you are one thing, or you are predisposed to having OCD, to having schizophrenia, to having any number of other complications that you may not find desirable. But regardless, you are what you make of your own situation. In the end, you are the biggest factor in what you become because you are the one controlling yourself. While we may think, everything that I've ever believed in is just someone else's idea and I'm not original, or I'm just thinking about what other people find or what other people share with me and I'm just sharing it out, that doesn't have to be depressing. It doesn't have to be as depressing or as melancholy as I'm making it out to be. Basically, when you make a choice or when you agree with something, that is you making that choice and agreeing with it. So that itself gives it meaning. If you want to be something, if you want to be faster, if you want to be happier, if you want to be healthier, if you want to be any number of other things, there are choices you can make to get up to that goal, to lead yourself there. And that's a little uplifting to me. Now that I've given myself a little bit of a crisis talking about this in this, once again, impromptu little speech that I thought would be interesting, I hope that's also relieving to you. And I hope that you learned something, and I hope you have more time to think about this. So, have a great week, and goodbye.